The CEO of the Nasdaq just confirmed something we've known for so long. They are moving to blockchain for settlement. Boom! Let's get it. You want the proof? I got the proof. Are you ready for it? I'm also going to show you some connections on what might be used for settlement here. Can you take any guess what the top choice would be? Because I have some information that's going to blow your mind. Let's get into it.
So this morning we announced that we're going to be bringing tokenization into our markets. So making sure that equities are tokenized and traded on market, in the markets, not in a side sleeve, but actually in the core markets.
So the eventual goal, or is it today? 24/7, 365 equities, just let it rip constantly.
I mean, I think we are all moving in that direction. We announced several months ago that we're moving to 24/5. So we're
24/5
moving that way.
So Saturday.
So they're still closed Saturday and Sunday. Why? Because bankers need their time off, right? They need to go travel in their yachts and spend all the money that they make off of us, right? They don't want to work the weekends. Eventually it will be 24/7, but I just thought this was a little funny thing.
Sunday,
Not for equities yet. I think that, we're walking before we run. But I think that getting to 24/5 is a major advancement for the US equities markets. And then on top of that, now with tokenization, if we can introduce that also into the markets, it allows us to really think about streamlining the post-trade processing, bringing and modernizing elements of the markets that have a lot of friction. We are hyper resilient and we're hyper scaled. We manage, like today, we had 95 billion messages come into our systems today. And we had a median, return time of 20 microseconds from order to trade. We handle like 3 million messages a second. It's hugely scaled. But then at the same time, once that trade occurs, there's a different process. And then the post-trade process, as we know, is an area where tokenization really shines. And really cutting down the friction, managing capital flows across the global ecosystem, and really bringing that capability into the markets is going to be the next
phase. I'm curious to get your reaction to this. There's this very famous curve, which is like you get this early font of insanity, and then there's the trough of disillusionment, and then you grow through. And does it seem like crypto is actually in blockchain? It's finally real. It's like there's real companies doing real things, stable coins, what Sachs did with the Genius Act.
Well, I actually want to point to that because, honestly, having regulators who want to work on bringing it into the mainstream and want to create the rules of the road is such a refreshing thing, because I think that it allows us all to understand how we can operate within a world where there are tenets of investor protection. The technology is going to have things we can and can't do, but also being forward-thinking and forward-leaning and how the technology is going to be applied is going to be critical. So we're very excited about the fact that we finally have this convergence of regulation between the traditional markets, the digital markets. How do we bring it all together to, frankly, advance all markets?
All right, let's get into this research now. So the Nasdaq is planning to use blockchain technology for settlement of stocks traded 24/7 with tokenized shares settled via distributed ledger technology. Settlement custodianship will leverage the Depository Trust Company, the DTCC, which is building new systems to support blockchain-based token settlement directly integrated into Nasdaq architecture. Nasdaq's proposal to the SEC details a trade mechanism that will stay largely unchanged, but the record of ownership and settlements will occur on blockchain ledgers for tokenized stocks. It hasn't said Ethereum or XRP or any of this yet, but let me show you some additional information. So we're getting a ton of this information. Nasdaq makes move to push trading of tokenized securities. Don't want to get into this too much, but I did pull some information up here. Does Nasdaq and the DTCC ever cross? When stocks are sold on the Nasdaq, who settled them before tokenizing them? Nasdaq and the DTCC are deeply interconnected. The DTCC handles trade clearance and settlement for virtually all equities traded on Nasdaq today. So there is the connection. Who is going to settle this? We already know the question. We already have the answer. We've been talking about this for so long. We know. Let me show you. When stocks are sold on Nasdaq, trades are first cleared, then settled by the DTCC through its subsidiaries, the National Securities Clearing Corporation, the NSCC, and the Depository Trust Company, the DTC. After a trade, the NSCC acts as a central counterparty, ensuring trades match and risk is minimized. The DTC provides the actual transfer of securities and manages custody, moving ownership electronically between broker and accounts. The current US standard for settlements is T+1. Like, you sell it and then 1 day after you get the money. The DTCC settles cash on a net basis at the end of the day, usually through Fedwire, while securities are moved via book entries on the ledger. Every stock trade on Nasdaq is ultimately settled through DTCC's infrastructure. DTCC handles both the securities via DTC and cash via NSCC. So we know, right? And then you start to look at some other connections here. Well, here, let me get to this in a second. But remember this, Ripple and Stellar gain strategic access to DTCC's 2.5 quadrillion settlement network via security acquisition. Here is more information.
What are your thoughts on the technology, aspect of that, and bringing on things like, CSDs into the equation? How do you make these things coexist, but how do you accelerate so you get more benefit?
Yeah, that's probably where I'm a bit more bullish on the adoption of these assets. I mean, we think every asset's going to be on chain. This technology benefits the issuer, the infrastructure, the investor for numerous reasons. So it's inevitable that this is coming. And you mentioned central securities depositories. And for those that don't know, like DTCC, Euroclear, they're kind of the books and records for a lot of publicly traded securities. And every single one of them, Euroclear, Clearstream, DTCC, these guys are looking at tokenization.
What are your thoughts on the tech?
Not done yet. Not done yet. Remember this clip?
30 to 50 trillion, all on XRP, all trading on Artex.
Wait.
Here we go. Behind my original projections, but the total market is 1.4 quadrillion, everything that's ever out there. And if you start looking across any of those asset classes, they're all starting to move on chain already.
Ready?
And the ease with which we've seen people interested in money market fund, tokenized treasuries, and those types of instruments, the support for stable coins. When you're talking about replacing cash, when I see DTCC, Euroclear, Clearstream, it only takes one of them to flip onto natively digital, and that's trillions of assets on its own that move. So, tens of trillions, I think we could see. And bearing in mind it's 1.4 quadrillion, this is still a tiny slice of a huge market. 30 to 50 trillion, all on XRP, all trading on Artex.
Is my man from the future? Did he see what was about to happen, right? Hidden Road has become a new participant in the DTCC's netting system. Like I said, we're coming for that 100 trillion. Remember this on March 11, 2025? Don't believe me? Let's get into it a little bit more here.
This example with real world assets.
This is the gentleman that built the patents that has, settlement for DTCC that you can use, Ethereum, Bitcoin, BNB, Tron, HBAR, XRP, Stellar, and there's one other random token that I cannot remember, but let's
This example with real world assets. This is now a very real disruptive force to traditional finance. And for example, in our case, our focus right now is bringing $100 trillion worth of assets that DTCC is responsible for on chain. Many folks here may not know who DTCC is and what we're responsible for. We're the principal record keeper for the U.S. financial markets. So we are all publicly traded securities. We hold a principal record keeping role. We're responsible for T+1 settlement. We're owned by the major banks and institutions. So effectively, we're a DAO for the U.S. financial markets. We're determined T+1 settlement is not good enough. We're really looking to take advantage of real-time settlement from blockchain rails. And it's our responsibility to bring those assets into the market. This example with
it's our responsibility to bring those assets into the market. Let me just pull something up. I forgot to have this DTCC patent XRP. Let me just see if I can find this really quickly. Bear with me. I'll have Cas edit some of this out. Oh God, I'm looking for something very specific. Here you go. The DTCC patent explicitly names XRP and XLM as compatible networks within its modular bridge architecture for liquidity tokenization, defining XRP for fast, low cost, and highly liquid operational infrastructure. Boom. What else do you need? Does it say Bitcoin anywhere? Does anybody help me? Is that the infrastructure? Is it Bitcoin? Or is it the biggest blockchain infrastructure company in the world, Ripple, who has the biggest banking partnerships in the world, who has the biggest custody partnerships in the world, who has the biggest on-demand liquidity partnerships in the world? You want to come and you want to talk all this smack about XRP and Ripple, you need to back it up with the facts, because right now you're getting smacked around and you look silly. Let's get some more of this information. You want more? I got some more here. The risk mitigation framework, the RMF. The RMF is being developed to help financial institutions manage non-financial risks tied to blockchain infrastructures, particularly public blockchains. It has led to a consortium of big industry players like Ripple, Hedera, the DTCC, Euroclear, Cardano, Clearstream, AVAX, and Oliver Wyman. Do you see anywhere here where it says Bitcoin or Litecoin or anything other than that? Because I sure as heck don't see them in this current space where all the money is going to be traded and settled. With oversight from World Bank, with oversight from World Bank. Okay, so the World Bank's involved too? Cool, dude. Phase 2 will also bring Chainlink, which is very important to all of this, Canton Network. The roadmap shows how the framework scales. Phase 1, Q3 2025, initial publication focused on risk taxonomy for blockchain infrastructures. Phase 2, late 2025, expansion into layer 2s, custody and feedback integration. Phase 2, 2H 2025, on-chain digital payments, operational resilience and payment rails. Phase 3, 2026, extends to native crypto assets, benchmarks, frameworks against real-world use cases. The framework is coordinated with regulatory standards such as MiCA, DORA, NIST, COSO, and to keep it aligned globally. The risks are categorized into novel risk, blockchain-specific like protocol governance, node diversity, smart contract flaws, sanctions. So they're setting up not only the infrastructure, but how do you protect all of this and keep it safe and you do all the reporting? And look at here are the contributors. This is who's involved. This is the real players in the room, right? The rest of blockchain, a lot of noise. This is who you need to be taken seriously. All right, and then Versad, Nasdaq just filed with the SEC to tokenize every stock by 2026. All tokenized assets will eventually route and settle through XRP as a bridge currency. That means trillions in value will move on chain, which aligns with the 2026 bull market. All right, and then of course, Smoke Dog has, when Brad Garlinghouse joined Ripple, he chose to focus on cross-border payments over smart contracts. He saw a $20 trillion opportunity, no regrets. And then also, I just thought this was helpful towards the end here, a little bit of information about smart contracts. No, you know what? I don't need to play this. I did think this was interesting. Spanish bank BBVA to use Ripple Tech for retail digital asset custody. BBVA is a 772 billion euro bank, and they're rolling out custody solutions for their customers with Ripple Custody. Ripple Custody and Medico, two different companies, probably using very similar technology though. The post is authentic and highlights a major partnership. Spanish banking giant BBVA is leveraging Ripple's technology to provide retail digital asset custody services for Spain. I did a whole video on this. I gave you every single detail. Look for it the same day this video comes out. Wrath Economy also says Thunes has just launched its direct global network in Morocco. This is just days after the full-throated partnership announcement integrating Ripple payments into the network. Note, since 2022, Ata Jawafa Bank has worked with Ripple there. Listen, if you are not paying attention to these connections, I don't really know what else to show you at this point. We still don't know the future and anything can happen. Anything could change, but we are moving ever so closely to an entire world using blockchain technology. We have been right this whole time when we said the stock market, the bond market, the derivative market, the debt market, the real estate market is all coming on chain. Owning cryptocurrency, owning the digital assets that are going to be a part of this financial network is you owning a piece of the new financial system. That is it. There's no funny buzzword or anything else I need to say. Take this very seriously. Start putting time into understanding all of these different assets and why they are important at scale. Because if you could make a few good decisions right now at this time in your life, you may be set up forever. If you need help understanding any of this, go talk with a financial advisor. Talk with somebody who understands the crypto market, because right now is the time. You're never going to get another shot at this. let's go. If you want more information, make sure that you're following. You can subscribe to the channel if you like me, you like my content. I would love that. Have a fantastic day. I'm feeling great. Let's get it. Peace.